As the saying goes, if 90% of the reason you're known is for 10% of what you've done, you've probably had a pretty interesting life. When it comes to amazing game characters, at least 90% is their introduction. I'm going to break down 5 of my favorites, the most fascinating first moments, interesting introductions, and entertaining entries of a video game character. I want to know what yours are. Put them in the comments. This is something that absolutely excites me. I hope you guys enjoy these kind of things. Check out the channel. We got reviews, more lists coming up. Make sure to subscribe. What does it mean to have a cool character entry? Some characters come in swinging 7-foot swords. Others ride into battles on the backs of spells and beasts like a feral version of the genie in the Lamp of Aladdin. Big intros for characters set that stage. They prime the pump and they engage the player. And when I think of those big kind of introductions, I think of number 5. Big Daddy from BioShock 1. So it's easy to assume that the Big Daddy and the little sister go hand in hand, literally. The murderous Penn and Teller of BioShock, one giggling and nuts, the other silent, menacing, threatening. But let me explain to you why I think Big Daddy hits so hard for me. Continues to, from the very moment, in fact, of the game. It's their intro, their way of acting, and how you learn so much right from the start. Sometimes watching through the baleful, red glowing viewing orbs that they've got, other times just walking side by side with the little sisters, but only activating into protection when the little sister's threatened. The mystery of what's inside those things, the mysteriousness of why it is and why it takes such curious actions outside is why the Big Daddy works. You quickly find out just how powerful they are when you're learning about the little sisters who cultivate Adam, and that the Big Daddies just protect them as they go about their jobs. And right then, someone attacks the little sister, and it's that instant switch between motionless and mayhem when the Big Daddy reacts to the scream, and it highlights just how dangerous and instantly aggressive they are. The Big Daddy ignores any attacks and just tromps in, smashes someone into a wall, drills them to bits, then smashes them into the floor, into the wall, into the floor, and then through a window. You know that a monstrosity is going to be a handful in the future game when the first time you see them, they pull off the equivalent of 4 Mortal Kombat fatalities in less than 12 seconds against one person. Where the little sister is creepy, the Big Daddy and their artistic design is lodged firmly within the deep-sea diving equipment used decades ago, and it levels this intro up to 11. There's something menacing, mysterious, and just downright creepy about those old underwater suits, and when you add a giant mining drill to one of its arms and make it look like it has a bunch of eyes, that only makes it better. Or quite possibly worse. Number 4.
This is not good.
You are not Saren.
What is that? Some kind of VI interface?
Rudimentary creatures of blood and flesh. You touch my mind, fumbling in ignorance, incapable of understanding.
I don't think this is a VI.
There is a realm of existence so far beyond your own, you cannot even imagine it. I am beyond your comprehension. I am sovereign.
Reapers, Mass Effect. The Reapers in Mass Effect 1 are one of the most fantastic designs and great introductions to bad guys I've seen in a video game. Now, we're talking beyond the holodeck moment at the starting where Shepard finds out who has attacked the original planet and there's that impetus to explore. But I'm talking about the main moment they meet. Within just a few exchanges, the entire process of thought, without giving away the villain's plans, are laid out. Rumors, notes, hints. We know that something's out there. This is like 2 dudes on Space LinkedIn, always hearing about one another on everybody else's posts. But now you come face to, well, tentacled face with your enemy. It wasn't just the stratagems these guys were throwing out, or the fact that they look like giant robotic squids, which is a terror spot in the mammalian brain already sitting somewhere between hangnails that go forever and poking your eye with a needle. It was that Sovereign and the Reaper's plans were Gaussian in proportion to most enemies you've ever experienced in a video game. A cyclic annihilation of alien races consistently patterned to reward those who had prospered with apocalypse. It takes real forethought to put together a robotic planned physical replication of the great filter for technological advancement in civilizations, and at the very end, just basically write in a corrupted save game. And he also had a wicked voice. And to prove the point of this introduction, it didn't matter that Sovereign was talking to Shepard through a futuristic Skype space call, because it didn't matter. The menace reverberated across that distance directly into the moment. The Reapers are one of the best bad guys in gaming, and in a recent top 5 video game poll for bad guys, the Reapers took 6 places. Let that sink in. But perhaps even they lose out to the next in line. Number 3.
What is that? Where's that coming from, Mendoza? I don't... There! Mira! Hold still! Hold still! Let him have it!
The Flood, Halo. Sci-fi, open-world shooter, fantastic series of encounters from start to finish. Halo wasn't complete. Halo wouldn't be Halo without the Flood. And while they aren't a single entry, the entire introduction changed the feeling, the tempo, the atmosphere of the entire game, right in the center. Whoever decided that they needed to be attacked by fungus versions of the small balls and tapioca pudding deserves a medal. First, let's talk about the presentation for a second. The quick cuts, the horror, the moments in the characters' voices that were stuttering in terror as they were encountering these things, the use of tight shots, and the sounds, wet, gurgling, squishy sounds, and completely, utterly different than the Covenant in all ways. The genius of the Flood is basically threefold. They're introduced as a terror, a mystery, a completely different style of attacker during the back and forth battle between the Covenant and the Chief, adding in a third to that uneven triangle of situational combat. Each enemy now will be battling to the center of the pyramid, starting at their own end. Secondarily, they fit their name. While the Covenant is introduced fairly quickly and explained as somewhat religious, and we certainly do know that that's a part of their aspect, you don't pick up on it as quickly as you do the Flood. This is a perfect name for enemies that attack as an onomatopoeia moment. They are what they sound like. Third, and most impressively, they utilize the geometry interestingly and instantly in different ways than have been set up before, setting the vertical and horizontal battlefield that the Master Chief and the Covenant had battled on into one where now corners and pipes and holes and cracks and walls can be entry points. They quite literally transform the locations around them and the relationships of the characters already established. They also alter the equation of expectations for both new encounters and locations, as well as old ones. Better yet, this was done and filmed initially through that hard-ass Marines running into the containment facility VR system. The movie Aliens aggressively channeled in their attitude and vocabulary. It establishes this forward shot of not only the Covenant, but the human forces needing to worry about this new enemy. Now the human and the Covenant need to worry about the Flood. Does the Flood need to worry about the Covenant and the humans? Does the Covenant need to worry about the humans and the Flood? And it all comes together. This is meted out in battles from that point on, with the player able to attack Covenant forces or leap into the fray against both, or just see how it all goes out. The Flood are, for all intents and purposes, the biological opposite form of the Reapers, unstoppable but low-tech and brutal in their instant conversions of those they encounter. The Flood will always be one of the best entries and introductions to a character or race I've ever seen in a game. You may think to yourself, can a single character ever beat the Flood or the Reapers? Yes, they can. Number 2.
The guy runs out of the shop, pushes me over and says something like, "You forget thousands of things every day. You make sure this is one of them." That was pretty scary. Back to you in the studio.
Trevor, GTA 5. GTA 5 introduces a number of characters, but few of them have the massive, painful, hideous, just horrible entry that Trevor does. Rip snorting craziness. People tell stories of crazy uncles, but this is what it's like if a single person had all those stories combined and made them human. Trevor is one part off-camber triangle for Franklin and Michael, each offering their own brand of crazy, their own mid or early life crisis, but at the very least, with those other two characters, a player could possibly garner some connection between them. Trevor, though, is the crisis. Trevor's level 1 is everyone else's level 11, and this isn't any more noticeable than when the first time you see him in a GTA game, he stomps another main character to death. It's not only that Trevor does all this in a very short amount of time, it's that when he vacillates from crazy to manic to nuts, he never ever goes back to normal. Even in a moment of silence when he pretends to console an upset friend, you absolutely know it's nothing more than him preparing a position for evil. Why this works so well for Trevor is because it shows how the line between these three characters go and how far a person can slip from a character like Franklin or a character like Michael to Trevor. Look even further and you can see that Johnny, the protagonist from GTA's side story, The Lost and the Damned, who dies and gets easily smashed underfoot, falls as well, threatening that anyone in the game series can have this kind of ending. But it also shows that Trevor is, at all times, a danger to everybody. One of the few characters in the game who revel in the same chaos as the high star rating that you can create. Trevor is also an incredible salve for any time you want to create violence in the game, because you see this character as somebody who would actually do that, where the other two, there might be a bit of pullback. It never actually occurs with him. Number 1.
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research Facility personnel.
Gordon Freeman in Half-Life. Through the years, no matter how many times I see it, I am stunned by the sheer artistry, the ideas behind this, the passion throughout the entire entry moments of this game, and the incredible storytelling that occurs in the intro alone. Multiple games have attempted to mimic this. Ignoring that it's one long slice, that it shows both places you will go as well as places you have been, as well as characters you will meet, it also shows characters you will play in the expansions. Within the first moments of this game and this introduction, it already shows you something is amiss, with security banging on a door to get back inside of some questionably constructed lab. Without talking, it sets Gordon up as this drudgery scientist, a faceless character working within the massive complex of mysterious actions and researches that this lab can create and follow through with. But what feels like a disconnect instead resonates. It resonates with people who understand what it's like to go to jobs like this, the long ride to a certain destination where you feel like the finality of your day has already been decided 2 days prior. The destinations within the complex, discussions of characters, and dangerous chemicals you drive through to get there, the view of rockets, you know something mysterious is already going on here. While you aren't seeing the introduction yourself from the outside like a third person, or seeing a character enter the game like some of the other examples, here the first person view is one of the best introductions ever, because it solidifies exactly what type of character this player is going to be. And that is somebody who really means absolutely nothing at the start. Let's be honest. Right at the start, you get a crowbar and they think that that's something worthwhile. But you're a scientist who will finally get that moment to shine. And that is everything that Half-Life is from the very starting. This is one of the best introductions to a character I've ever seen in my entire life. And it stuns me to this day and age that it came so long ago without the requirements for incredible high tech, even though at the time it was considered that. We look at that and still sit back and wonder, man, is anybody going to top that intro? I hope you liked the video. Thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you like more of these. Pop off on what you think are the amazing introductions for characters, because there are so many. No matter what, nobody's going to get them all. Somebody's going to be mad and be like, I can't believe you didn't include this. Well, guess what? That's what the comments are is for including these. I would love to know what you guys think. Spread the video around. Tell other people about it. If you have an idea for a video list like this that you want me to do with a slightly different edge, with some explanations a little bit more than just this character looks cool, feel free to put that in the comments. I would love to hit back to you and get those done. Check out the Patreon if you can.